But like I said, once you tap into different things and have these different strategies like the ones that I taught you today, you can really sort of hone in on what it feels like to have a really good meditative session. And that is so addictive, because once you can have a good process about harnessing that innate ability to produce states of euphoria in yourself, or just states of like interesting experiences, it really gets addictive. All right, all you Muse meditators, it's Dr. Cody Rall here with Techforpsych. One of the most common questions I get is about losing interest or getting bored during meditation and potentially even falling asleep. Now, this is something I can definitely resonate with. When I first picked up meditating, I was doing more of an awareness, mindfulness practice where I would just sit there with my eyes open for 20 minutes straight. And that got boring after a while. Sometimes I would get really present and I would come into an interesting mental space, but I really needed a framework to make meditation more interesting. And I think that's what people are running into, is that if you don't have a framework to do meditation, you lose interest in it. It's hard to sit down and focus on your breath and try not to get distracted by thoughts for 5 to 20 minutes a day. So in this video, we're going to cover a couple of strategies you can use to make meditation more interesting. I've got 3 main tips for you guys today to improve your meditation strategy by making it more interesting. Now stick around for number 3 because it really ties the rest of them together, and then we'll talk about how you can use Muse to further investigate these techniques and make your whole practice of meditation more interesting. All right, first of all, we need to revisit the principle that meditation is a balance. Okay, you don't want to be too focused to the point where you're thinking a lot and really increasing a lot of beta wave activity in your brain and stressing yourself out. That's just going to cause more anxiety. But you don't want to go to the other side of things and sort of lose interest, have your mind wander, and maybe even start dreaming a little bit during the meditation session and potentially even falling asleep. I don't know if you guys have had sessions where your mind wanders so much that you start having little micro sleeps and you even start dreaming a little bit while you're doing it. So there's some caveats with that. What's going on? You're getting bored and distracted to the point where you're falling asleep. Well, there's some things to ask yourself there. Are you getting enough sleep? So if you're falling asleep during your meditation sessions, maybe that's a sign that you're not getting enough sleep in your daily life and you need to get more hours of sleep per night so you'll be more effective during the day and you can have productive meditation sessions. Now, I like to do my meditation in the morning when I have woken up at least a little bit. That's where I really hit the most resonant states and get into some really interesting environments with my mind. The other thing too is you can actually use sleep to enhance meditation. If you have a hard time getting to sleep at night, you can do a meditation session before bed and use a couple of techniques to actually make you a little bit more drowsy so that you sleep better. So it's not necessarily a bad thing all the time if you are falling asleep from meditation sessions. It's just most sessions you're not preparing for bed. Most sessions you would be doing it in the early morning to sort of prep yourself during the day. And that's typically what I recommend, is that pretty soon after you wake up, your brain is transitioning from delta to theta to beta waves, and that's an interesting resonance frequency for the brain state to be in, and you can hit some really great meditation sessions during that time to again set you up during the day. I mean, I've had sessions that I do and I just feel incredible afterwards. It's just pure euphoria that follows you. Are in such a good mood that you spread it around throughout the day. So really important to do your sessions.
20 minutes later.
All right, so if you're losing interest during your meditation session, we need to figure out some strategies to wake yourself up before you get into it. Okay, one of the most effective ways before you dive into the actual meditation is take some deep breaths. It's pretty simple. Deep breaths are amazing, that they expand the musculature in your chest, and you do diaphragmatic breathing where the stomach comes out. You've got all these different mechanisms that you can do, and just do what feels good to you to start out. All right, I recommend diaphragmatic breathing if you're trying to wake yourself up. So you breathe in and your stomach expands, and you can hold it a little bit and go out through the mouth. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now there's a lot of different breathing techniques like pranayama that you can get into, but I think just taking 3 deep breaths before you really dive into the meditation could help a lot. It sort of wakes you up, makes you aware of what's going on in your chest and in your stomach, and centers your brain into what's going on with your breathing. Another thing that I like to do is stretch before I get into my meditation session, especially if my hamstrings and my back feel tight. I often do my meditation sessions early in the morning, so it's important to stretch everything out and just get feeling good, release those endogenous endorphins before you even get into the meditation session. So I like to just do the hamstring stretches like this on each side of my legs. And by the way, this is a great way to improve your flexibility, right? A lot of people do yoga, and I'm getting more into yoga, but something just as simple as these leg stretches to like pull out your back and hamstring muscles and just get those nice and loose before you're going to be sitting for about 20 minutes doing the meditation, I think helps a lot. Do the twist. These are all just basic stretches that I learned, from doing hockey and bodybuilding back in the day. Heard my back pop. That's good. And now that we've done some breathing to wake us up and some stretches to sort of loosen the joints and get us a little bit more aware of our bodies, I think it's important to do a body scan. There's a couple of different aspects to a body scan. We're going to start with feeling the ground beneath of us. Then we're going to take a look at the different tension points in our body. And then we're going to check in emotionally to bring awareness of where we are at in our bodies and our minds for that session. And again, we're waking up the brain. We're making it more aware of what's going on so that the meditation session afterwards is a lot more rich. Okay? So what I'm going to do is close my eyes, and I'm going to go through this a lot quicker than I normally would in my meditation prep, but just for the information. So I'm sitting here, and what I'm going to do first is feel the ground beneath of me. So I'm feeling the pressure push into the sides of my feet, and my ankles, under my butt. And I'm really feeling the gravity of the earth pull me down into it. And I'm building up a mental map of all those pressure points. Just gaining a better understanding of what's holding me up. If you're in a chair, this works great. You can feel the ground beneath your feet, the legs on the back of the chair, your back on the backrest, and your arms on the armrest. And again, it's waking your brain up and centering your understanding of where the pressure points are in your body, okay? The next part of the body scan exercise is the actual body scan itself. So what you're doing is perhaps starting at the tips of your toes and looking for points of tension in your body. So you slowly scan up. So start with one leg in the right foot, start at the tips of the toes, slowly work your way up into the heel, through your ankle, your knee, your thigh, your butt. Do it on the other side. And then you're going up your back, down one arm, across your chest, and down the other. And then all the way up your neck and into your face and the top of your head. And just like the pressure point on the ground, you're building up a mental map of where the areas of tension and relaxation are in your body, okay? And once you've done that, turn inwards and look at your emotions, okay? Take a look at whether you're irritable, excited, tired, drowsy. These are all moods and states of mind that you might be in before you go into your meditation session, and recognizing that and being at peace with it and not having any resistance to stuff that's going on is going to enhance your meditation session that you'll do afterwards. Okay, so we did our first tip, which is breathing. We did our second tip, which is stretching and doing a body scan. And the third tip to, like I said, tie everything together is curiosity. So you need to develop this sense of curiosity when it comes to meditation, and that will really keep your mind alive. Let me explain. So, you were curious about these different breaths that you were taking at the beginning. You were curious about the body scan. It's like, what is really going on with me today? And piquing that interest, all right? And then when you go into the meditation session, let's say you're doing it with Muse and you're focusing on your breath, all right? You should be really curious about just like, all right, what's going on with my breath? And, pick up little cues like, oh, that breath brought in more air than the other, or oh, what was, that air was a different temperature, or was it of a different quality than the air that I took in on the breath before. So you see what I mean? It's a really good exercise in developing interest and curiosity. And if you can figure out how to turn on that mechanism, it makes the meditation sessions a lot better. And what that does is release more neurochemicals in your brain so that the deeper that you get into the meditative state, the more interesting it gets. I've had some really bizarre meditation sessions where like I felt like I was leaving my body and having out of body experiences, or your whole just physiology changes and you feel incredible because it's releasing all these endorphins. And what's really interesting about meditation is every session is different than the last, and you'll have some sessions that are a lot better than others. But that's just like the really cool continual learning process of meditating, is that you never know what you're going to get. And I think that's why people are able to build up a habit of meditation and practice it all their lives. I think a lot of people ask, how the heck can people do this every day? Because it's so boring to them. When you start out, it's just so boring because you're just sitting there trying not to get distracted by your thoughts and coming to terms with why it actually is healthy to do meditation. But like I said, once you tap into different things and have these different strategies like the ones that I taught you today, you can really sort of hone in on what it feels like to have a really good meditative session. And that is so addictive, because once you can have a good process about harnessing that innate ability to produce states of euphoria in yourself, or just states of like interesting experiences, it really gets addictive. So that's what we're trying to do here, is get you guys curious about your sessions and really into it. And what's cool about the Muse is that I had a previous video about the 5 biggest mistakes that people make when using the Muse, and part of that was the calibration. Okay, so you don't want to get into a meditative state and then calibrate and then meditate unless you want your session to be really difficult. But what you can do is actually play around with the calibration. So you can, before you do these exercises, calibrate, okay, and then pause the Muse and then do some of these exercises and try to get a little bit more centered and see how your session goes. And you can play around with that. You can meditate without the grounding exercises, and then you can meditate with the grounding exercises, and you can see if you can improve your scores. So there's all types of interesting things you can do with the Muse to help understand, all right, was that session better than the last? What did I do on this session that was different than the other? And then correlate with how you were actually feeling during those sessions, and really learn just so much about yourself. So those are the 3 tips I have for you today on, centering yourself and being aware of what's going on, really harnessing that mindfulness, and above all, having that curiosity about the experience should make your meditation sessions a lot better. If you have any questions, leave them below. Please subscribe. This is Cody Rall with Techforpsych. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you again next time.